I never thought a simple haircut could turn my life upside down. Yet here I was, staring at my reflection in the salon mirror, my jaw tight, heart racing, and an unfamiliar tension curling in my stomach. My name is Ryan, and I had always been careful about my appearance, meticulous even. But today, the scissors had become instruments of a transformation I never anticipated. The morning had started innocuously enough. Emma, my girlfriend, had casually suggested a new salon she'd discovered downtown. "Trust me," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "They do amazing things. You'll love it." I had hesitated at first. I wasn't someone who took risks with my hair. But her enthusiasm was infectious, persuasive, and admittedly, I had wanted to impress her. Emma wasn't just my girlfriend. She was a force of nature. Confident, bold, and intuitive, she had a way of seeing through people, piercing past facades. I loved her for it, even if it meant my vulnerabilities were always on display. She had a keen eye for style, for presentation, and unbeknownst to me at the time, a curiosity that bordered on mischievous experimentation. The salon smelled of fresh shampoo, hairspray, and faint hints of vanilla. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting polished floors and chairs occupied by clients chatting idly. The soft hum of blow dryers created a strange, hypnotic rhythm. I sat down, trying to relax, yet an unease coiled in my chest. I had always had a private relationship with appearance, not vanity exactly, but a personal exploration of identity. Sometimes I experimented in solitude, trying different styles, playing with makeup in secret. It was my own little world, a way to explore something unspoken. Emma perched herself on the chair beside me, her eyes gleaming. "So, what are we thinking?" she asked. "A simple trim? Or something bolder?" I swallowed hard. Bold wasn't my usual approach, but her excitement was infectious. "Something noticeable," I said cautiously, trying to sound confident. "But nothing too crazy." The stylist, a young woman with an easy smile and nimble fingers, nodded. "We'll take it step by step. You'll be surprised how much a haircut can change not just your look, but how you feel." I laughed nervously, brushing a hand through my hair, unaware of just how true her words would become. The scissors danced through my hair, snipping away familiar strands. I watched the pile growing on the floor, feeling a strange mixture of excitement and apprehension. With each cut, my reflection shifted, unfamiliar and startling. The hairstyle Emma had picked was bold, edgy, a delicate balance of sophistication and daring that I had never imagined wearing. Emma's eyes sparkled as she leaned closer. "You're going to look amazing," she said, her voice filled with a certainty I envied. She didn't just believe in the transformation. She relished it, as if the change itself was a game she was orchestrating. I tried to match her confidence, but a knot of doubt twisted in my stomach. This wasn't just about style. This was about perception, about the way the world, and perhaps Emma, would see me after these scissors had done their work. As the stylist finished the final touches, blow-drying and shaping, I saw her smile in the mirror. "Done," she said. I blinked. The reflection staring back at me wasn't entirely familiar. My jawline seemed sharper, my features softer in unexpected ways, my hair framing my face differently. Emma's grin was wide and knowing, almost predatory in its delight. "You look incredible," she breathed, her eyes scanning me as though she were reading a hidden part of my soul. "You might not even recognize yourself at first." I laughed, though it was a nervous laugh, tinged with unease. "Yeah, that's different." "Different." Emma leaned in closer, her fingers brushing lightly against my shoulder. "Different is good. Sometimes, you need to see yourself in a new way to understand who you really are." Her words lingered in my mind long after we left the salon. On the subway ride home, I kept catching glimpses of my reflection in the windows. Mia, or rather, the version of myself Emma had nudged me toward, was emerging. My hair, cut just so, framed my face in ways that softened and reshaped it. I felt vulnerable, exposed in ways I hadn't anticipated. There was an unfamiliar thrill in noticing how different people seemed to regard me, a subtle shift in attention, in their expressions. Emma held my hand, her presence grounding me even as my thoughts spun. "See," she said softly, "you're already different. And I promise you're stunning." By the time we reached our apartment, a storm of conflicting emotions churned inside me. Excitement, fear, curiosity, and a touch of embarrassment. I had never imagined that a simple haircut could stir such profound feelings, such a deep shift in identity. Later that evening, as I stared at my reflection in the bedroom mirror, the full realization hit me. This haircut, this simple change, had unlocked something hidden, an unspoken curiosity, a latent desire to explore femininity and expression in ways I hadn't yet dared. It wasn't just hair. It was an invitation, a challenge, and perhaps a temptation too potent to ignore. Emma approached quietly, wrapping her arms around me from behind. "I think you're ready to explore," she whispered. "But only if you want to." I shivered, feeling the truth of her words. The hair was gone, but something else had been revealed. A version of me I hadn't fully known, a persona waiting in the shadows. I realized then that my journey wasn't about haircuts or style. It was about transformation, about the fragile, intoxicating thrill of becoming someone both familiar and entirely new. And I knew, even in that quiet moment, that I had no idea just how far this haircut would take me. The days following the haircut were a whirlwind of sensation, self-discovery, and a creeping, thrilling anxiety. Every time I caught my reflection in the bathroom, a store window, even my phone screen, I was struck by how different I looked. The haircut, which at first seemed a simple change, had altered more than just my appearance. It had shifted the way I carried myself, the way people noticed me, and even the way I felt in my own skin. Emma had been subtle at first, testing boundaries in ways I hadn't fully realized. She complimented me endlessly, remarking on how soft my features looked, how elegant my posture had become. Every compliment, while reassuring, carried an unspoken undercurrent, a push towards something more daring. "I love the way this haircut frames your face," she said one evening, brushing my hair lightly with her fingers. "It suits you, in ways you might not even understand yet." Her touch sent shivers down my spine. I laughed nervously, trying to mask the stirring excitement that I didn't fully comprehend. "Yeah, it's different," I murmured. But the word felt inadequate. Different didn't capture the way I suddenly felt more fragile, more visible. It was during a quiet afternoon at home, with Emma out running errands, that I first felt the real pull of transformation. Standing in front of the mirror, I experimented, brushing my hair to the side, twisting strands, adjusting the cut Emma had insisted upon. The reflection staring back at me wasn't quite Ryan anymore, not fully. There was a softness, a vulnerability, a teasing allure that I hadn't noticed before. Curiosity, once dormant, surged within me. I found myself rifling through Emma's drawer of accessories, hesitating over things I had never dared to touch before. Delicate earrings, silky scarves, subtle makeup. My pulse quickened at each new item I held, each brush I picked up. And then, almost without realizing it, I had smeared a light layer of foundation on my face, tracing my features, softening lines, accentuating curves that had never seemed significant before. The sensation was intoxicating and terrifying. I felt exposed in a way I hadn't anticipated. My reflection looked different, yes, but also daring, feminine, and undeniably captivating. I was experimenting with boundaries, and a part of me thrilled at the secret thrill of the transformation. Hours passed. I added subtle eyeliner, brushed a hint of blush across my cheeks, and even experimented with Emma's lipstick, a pale pink that felt strange on my lips, but exhilarating. My hands trembled as I adjusted my hair, turning my head slowly to see how the cut framed my face from different angles. And then came the clothes. I had never dared cross that boundary before, but curiosity pushed me. I slipped into one of Emma's soft blouses, the silky fabric brushing against my arms, tracing contours I hadn't paid attention to before. The sensation sent a shiver through me. Next came a skirt, short, but tasteful, and suddenly, my reflection was entirely different. I was someone else, yet undeniably myself. The thrill of secrecy heightened the experience. Emma had left instructions that I was free to experiment, but only when alone. The rules, the boundaries, the clandestine nature of the exploration amplified every sensation. I felt a dangerous mixture of power and vulnerability, excitement and fear. I was discovering a side of myself that existed in shadows, hidden, forbidden, yet tantalizingly close to the surface. Then came the internal struggle. The more I experimented, the more I felt divided. Alex, the version of me who had always been cautious, restrained, scrambled beneath the surface, warning me of exposure, of judgment, of the possibility of losing control. Yet Mia, the persona emerging from the reflection, the hair, the makeup, the silk and lace, pushed forward, curious, daring, irresistible. Every glance in the mirror became a psychological tug-of-war. I adjusted a strand of hair, smiled tentatively, then froze at the daring reflection that stared back. Could I really become her? Could I maintain this illusion if anyone saw? The questions spun in my mind like a storm, each one heavier than the last. Emma returned that evening, her eyes gleaming as she surveyed me in the outfit. "Well," she asked, tilting her head, "how does it feel?" I hesitated, uncertain how to answer. The words stuck in my throat. Finally, I whispered, "Different but exciting?" Her grin widened.
Exactly.
"That's the thrill. You're learning, feeling, transforming." Over the next few days, I practiced constantly in secret, learning to walk differently, to hold myself in ways that enhanced the illusion. My voice, my gestures, even my posture began to shift. Every movement was deliberate, every glance calculated. The transformation wasn't just skin deep, it was psychological, emotional. I was becoming someone else, someone fragile yet confident, vulnerable yet alluring. But with every success, the tension grew. The thought of being discovered, Emma returning unexpectedly, a neighbor knocking on the door, a friend calling, gnawed at me constantly. My heart would pound at the slightest sound, and every shadow in the apartment seemed to hide a potential threat. One afternoon, as I adjusted my skirt and traced my reflection, I heard a knock at the door. Panic surged. Emma had gone out, leaving me alone, and now someone was here. My mind raced through possibilities: friend, neighbor, delivery, or worse, someone who might see through the transformation. I froze, caught between curiosity and fear. The knock came again, firmer this time. My pulse thundered in my ears. I peeked through the peephole and saw a delivery man holding a package. Relief flooded me, but it was fleeting. The package, labeled with Emma's name, required a signature. I hesitated, realizing that stepping out of my room in Mia's persona could be dangerous. Every second stretched into eternity as I weighed my options. Finally, I took a deep breath, smoothed my hair, adjusted my blouse, and opened the door, careful to maintain the poise I had been practicing. "Delivery for Emma?" I asked, my voice softer, a hint higher than usual. The man raised an eyebrow, inspecting me briefly. "Signature?" I fumbled slightly, but managed to sign. The man nodded politely and left. My legs trembled as the door closed behind him. The thrill of maintaining the illusion and the terror of exposure left me breathless. Over the following weeks, I continued to explore Mia in secret, each experiment pushing boundaries further. I ventured outside briefly, disguised by my new hairstyle, subtle makeup, and clothing that transformed my frame. Every glance from strangers, every fleeting comment, heightened the intoxicating tension of living as someone else. Emma watched, guiding me, observing every nuance, praising successes, gently correcting mistakes. Her influence was both comforting and terrifying. She held the key to this new identity, and yet, her presence reminded me that the boundaries were fragile. One slip, one misstep, and the world could see Ryan instead of Mia. The suspense built relentlessly. Every day was a test, a balancing act between excitement and fear, curiosity and caution. The haircut, the seemingly innocuous event that had started it all, had unlocked a door I could not close. Mia was emerging, tangible and irresistible, and Alex struggled to hold on beneath the surface. By the end of the build-up, I had learned a hard truth. Transformation wasn't just about appearance. It was psychological, emotional, and intensely personal. The thrill of crossing boundaries, the fear of exposure, the delicate balance of dual identities, it was intoxicating, terrifying, and utterly consuming. And I knew, deep down, that the real test was coming. Emma had plans, situations that would push Mia into public view, into scrutiny, into moments where the line between Ryan and Mia could shatter at any second. The stakes were high, the risks palpable, and the thrill undeniable. The haircut had done more than change my hair. It had changed everything. The day had arrived. Emma had arranged for Mia to attend a small gallery opening, a seemingly innocent event, but one carefully chosen to push the boundaries of my new persona. I was alone in our apartment, preparing for the outing, my hands trembling as I smoothed the silk blouse over my frame and adjusted the skirt to perfection. The heels clicked softly against the hardwood floor, a sound that now carried both power and vulnerability. Emma's instructions were clear. Blend in, stay poised, and, most importantly, do not reveal Ryan. The gallery would be filled with colleagues, acquaintances, and strangers, each a potential threat to the delicate illusion. The stakes had never been higher. I took a deep breath, examining my reflection. Mia looked poised, confident, and striking. Alex, lurking beneath, felt like a fragile ghost. The duality of my existence weighed heavily on me. One misstep, one moment of hesitation, and everything could collapse. Stepping outside, the world seemed different. My reflection in shop windows caught my eye, every passerby seeming to notice Mia, yet never truly recognizing her as a construct of my own making. The thrill of the attention was intoxicating, but the fear never left. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet alive in a way I hadn't anticipated. The gallery was intimate, walls lined with striking art, soft jazz playing in the background. People mingled, glasses of wine in hand, laughter and conversation filling the space. Emma guided me subtly, her presence a shield and a reminder of the rules. "Stay close," she whispered, "and watch how people respond." I did, carefully navigating the crowd, observing reactions. Whispers and glances followed Mia, some admiring, others curious. My pulse quickened with each look. Maintaining the persona required constant awareness, posture, expression, voice, all perfectly aligned to project confidence. And then it happened. A colleague, someone I had known for years as Ryan, approached. His eyes widened slightly as they scanned me. Recognition flickered, but he quickly masked it with politeness. "Mia, right?" he said, smiling. "Emma mentioned you'd be here." "Yes," I responded, my voice slightly higher, careful. "It's lovely to finally meet you in person." The interaction, brief as it was, left me trembling inside. I had succeeded, yet the tension was palpable. Every step, every word, carried the weight of exposure. Emma's approving glance reassured me, but the underlying danger remained. As the evening progressed, the gallery filled with more people, including a few unexpected guests, friends of Emma, art critics, even a distant relative who had known Ryan since childhood. My heart pounded. The potential for discovery was immense. Every interaction required precise attention, every gesture scrutinized. Then came the twist, a familiar voice behind me, tinged with surprise. "Ryan." I froze. The voice belonged to my childhood friend, someone who knew me intimately, who could see through Mia in an instant. My mind raced. Panic surged, threatening to unravel the carefully constructed persona. Emma moved swiftly, positioning herself between me and the friend. "She's Mia," she said smoothly, voice calm but authoritative. "You must be mistaken." The friend paused, searching my expression, eyes narrowing. The seconds stretched into eternity. My heart hammered, my palms clammy, my mind screaming for escape. Would he see through the facade? Would Ryan be exposed in front of everyone? Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he shrugged, nodding. My mistake," he said, forcing a smile. Relief washed over me, but it was fleeting. The close call reminded me that Mia's existence was fragile, and every social encounter was a high-stakes gamble. The night continued, each moment a delicate dance. Emma guided me subtly, correcting posture, whispering cues, ensuring Mia remained convincing. Yet the pressure intensified. The attention, the glances, the constant mental calculations, it was exhausting. My dual identity demanded perfection, and the weight of it pressed heavily on my shoulders. As we prepared to leave, another challenge emerged. A photographer, unaware of the situation, requested a candid shot. Emma's eyes flicked to mine, a silent question. Could Mia handle it? I nodded, forcing a confident smile. The flash went off. In that moment, I saw both Mia and Alex reflected in my mind's eye, the confident persona projected outward, the terrified boy hidden beneath. The photograph captured only one reality, but the tension between them was palpable, like a thread stretched to its breaking point. Back at the apartment, the adrenaline subsided slightly, replaced by exhaustion. I peeled off the blouse and skirt, heels clattering softly against the floor, and stared at the reflection. Mia had survived the night, maintained the illusion, and yet the experience left me shaken. Alex felt small, trapped, desperate for release. Emma approached, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You did wonderfully," she said. "But remember, the next challenge will be harder." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. The hair had been a catalyst, the gallery a test, but the real trial was only beginning. Mia's existence was no longer a private experiment. It was a public performance, and the consequences of exposure were immediate and terrifying. I realized then that transformation wasn't just about appearance. It was a psychological labyrinth, each choice a potential trap, each interaction a test of control. I had walked a tightrope all night, balancing two identities, and the stakes had never been higher. And just when I thought the tension might ease, a soft knock at the door reminded me that the world outside was watching. Someone was coming. Someone who might see through Mia. I froze, heart racing, knowing that one more twist, one more unexpected encounter, could shatter everything. The balance between Ryan and Mia was delicate, and the next moment would define whether I could survive the illusion or be exposed completely. The door creaked open, and a shadow fell across the threshold. The night of transformation, suspense, and revelation was far from over. The shadow at the door froze me in place. My heart thundered in my chest, adrenaline surging as my mind raced. Every fiber of my being screamed for caution, for retreat, but Mia had to remain convincing. I straightened my posture, smoothed the blouse, and adjusted the skirt, attempting to exude the same calm confidence I had projected all night. The figure stepped closer, and I realized it was someone I hadn't anticipated, an old friend of Emma's, someone who had seen me as Ryan on multiple occasions. Recognition flashed in their eyes, a flicker that could unravel everything. My breath caught. The room seemed to shrink, the weight of dual identities pressing down, demanding control, demanding composure. Emma moved swiftly to intercept, her hand brushing my arm in a reassuring gesture. "She's Mia," she said smoothly, her voice steady, authoritative. "You must be mistaken." The friend paused, their gaze lingering on me. The seconds stretched like hours. My pulse raced, every instinct screaming that one wrong glance, one hesitation, could expose Ryan. My hands trembled slightly as I clasped them together, focusing on the persona I had spent weeks cultivating. Then came the unexpected twist. The friend smiled, but it wasn't a smile of ease. It was a smile of intrigue, curiosity, and a hint of suspicion. "Emma, I didn't realize Mia was experimenting like this," they said softly, leaning in, as though probing for a reaction. Panic surged through me. My mind scrambled, weighing responses, trying to maintain composure, while every nerve screamed that exposure was imminent. Alex, the hidden, vulnerable part of me, cowered beneath the surface, while Mia fought to dominate, to maintain the illusion, to survive this encounter. Emma's grip tightened subtly, a silent signal to trust her. But the tension was suffocating. Could I hold the facade? Could Mia endure scrutiny from someone who had known me intimately? Suddenly, the friend's expression shifted. A faint smirk appeared, and their eyes glinted with knowledge, or at least the suggestion of it. Interesting, they said quietly, almost to themselves. Very interesting. Every word, every pause, was a knife edge. My body tensed, heels digging into the floor as I forced a polite smile, voice steady yet laced with nervous energy. I'm glad you like the outfit, I murmured. Emma's eyes met mine, a flash of warning, a reminder that we were treading dangerous ground. One wrong move, and the fragile line between Ryan and Mia could snap. I swallowed, trying to steady my breath, trying to maintain the illusion that had consumed weeks of careful preparation. The friend stepped closer, leaning in slightly. Emma, I feel like there's more to this than you're telling me, they said, a subtle teasing lilt in their voice. Am I right? The world seemed to slow, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in my ears. I opened my mouth to respond, but words failed me. Every instinct screamed that truth could be catastrophic, yet concealment demanded finesse, demanded performance, demanded that Mia dominate. Emma's hand moved to my shoulder, grounding me. Mia is new to all this, she said calmly, yet her eyes were sharp, measuring. She's learning, but she's doing wonderfully. The friend's gaze lingered, narrowing just slightly. Learning, huh? They tilted their head, a knowing glint in their eye that suggested they were piecing together something, perhaps not the full truth, but enough to create tension, enough to threaten exposure. I forced a nod, heart hammering. Yes, I whispered. Learning. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then a faint chuckle escaped the friend, enigmatic and unnerving. Well, I'll be watching, they said, turning toward the door. Very interesting indeed. As the door clicked closed, I sank against the wall, knees trembling, breath ragged. The danger hadn't passed, it had only intensified. One encounter, one glance, had reminded me of the fragility of Mia's existence, of the razor-thin boundary between survival and exposure. Emma approached quietly, wrapping her arms around me. You did well, she whispered. Better than you know. But remember, the real tests are only beginning. I nodded weakly, trying to absorb her words, though my mind whirled. The thrill, the fear, the intoxicating sensation of living as Mia, it was addictive, but it was also dangerous. Every interaction, every glance, every word carried stakes I had never anticipated. And then it hit me. This wasn't over. The friend's parting comment, their knowing smirk, lingered in my mind like a shadow. Someone knew, or suspected. Someone had seen cracks, or perhaps glimpsed the truth. And the question that now haunted me, twisting like a knife in my chest, was simple but terrifying. Would they expose Mia? Or would they push me further, challenging the fragile identity I had built with Emma's guidance? I glanced at the mirror one last time before collapsing onto the couch, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Mia stared back, poised, confident, beautiful. But beneath the surface, Alex's fear lingered. The reflection was flawless, yet fragile. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the secret drama unfolding in our apartment. But inside, the tension remained, taut as a wire ready to snap. The transformation was no longer private. The stakes were public, and the line between Ryan and Mia was perilously thin. Somewhere beyond the closed door, the next challenge waited. And I knew, with a mixture of dread and exhilaration, that there was no turning back. The door creaked again, softly this time, and my heart froze.